"You can come," my mom said, "but don't get too comfortable. No one really wants you here." I just nodded and walked out without another word. 3 weeks later, she called me screaming because the shared cabin was listed for sale. Their cards weren't working, and the family trust was emptied into a legal account with my name on it. I don't know if it was the champagne talking or just 40 years of entitlement spilling out, but I remember exactly what my mother said as I pulled into the gravel driveway. "You can come, but don't get comfortable. Nobody really wants you here." That was the moment something shifted in me. I had my suitcase in one hand, a bottle of red in the other, and I didn't even look at her. I just walked right past into the cabin I bought. She said it so casually, like I was a distant relative showing up uninvited. And maybe in her mind, that's exactly what I'd become. Not a daughter, not the owner of the house they were celebrating in, just someone inconvenient. Inside, it looked like a party catalog exploded. Twinkle lights everywhere, rose garlands on the beams, gold 40 balloons tied to the railing. My cousin Mark was fiddling with the speakers. His wife was reheating catered food in the kitchen like she lived there. My parents were in the center of it all like some kind of king and queen in a kingdom they never built. I had to step outside for air. It was like watching a play, a fantasy my family had written where I didn't exist. They all thanked each other, complimented the decorations, gushed over the food, laughed about our favorite place. Not one word about me, not even a nod. During the toast, my dad raised a glass and said, "This place has been the heart of our family for years. We've made it our own." I nearly choked. I remembered how hard I'd worked to afford it, how many weekends I'd given up, how I'd pulled extra consulting work just to cover the closing costs. I'd bought the cabin after my divorce, hoping to build something stable, something mine. I offered it to my family as a place to use occasionally. That's all it was supposed to be. Occasional, but little by little they took more. At first, they'd ask before coming, then they'd just show up. Eventually, I started finding food in the fridge that I didn't buy, clothes in the closets, my bedding replaced with scratchy flannel sheets that weren't mine. My mom started calling it theirs. My dad installed a grill and told the neighbors they owned the place. One of my cousins even told a friend they could rent it for the summer without asking me. So I kept letting it happen because I didn't want to be the difficult one, the outsider, the one who made waves. But that night, watching my mother laugh in the hot tub, I installed, sipping champagne from my glasses while I sat on the porch alone. That's when it clicked. They didn't forget this was mine. They just stopped caring. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on the couch because my childhood room had been turned into Nana's reading nook. There was a framed photo on the wall of my parents and their grandkids sitting on my dock with a handwritten caption, "Our Little Paradise." I opened my laptop at 3 a.m. and pulled up the title documents. Then I started researching how to move a property held under a family trust into a private legal account. Already knew I could do it. The cabin was in the trust, but I'd set it up years ago with me as the primary beneficiary, assuming I'd be the one to manage it long term. I just hadn't planned to act on it. You'll know. Over the next few days, I made a list. I started calling people quietly. No announcements, no warnings. Let them laugh. Let them toast. Let them keep pretending. I would wait. I would smile at the next family brunch. Bring wine to the New Year's gathering. Let them sit in the sauna they loved so much. And when the time came when everything was ready, I'd take it all back. Every square foot. Not out of spite. Not even for revenge. Just because they needed to be reminded who built the thing they took for granted. After the anniversary, I went back to the city and didn't hear from them for almost a week. Not even a thank you. Not even a passing comment about the dinner. It was like I disappeared from the narrative entirely. I kept my tone normal in the family group chat. Dropped a few heart emojis on baby pictures. Answered my cousin Hannah's dumb question about the water pressure at the cabin. Just enough to keep the illusion that nothing was changing. Meanwhile, I was moving pieces behind the curtain. First thing I did was freeze the trust shared access quietly. The family had always assumed the trust was some collective legal blob, but I had structured it carefully when I first bought the cabin. My lawyer friend Claire had warned me about blending property with family. She told me, "Build it like you might have to take it back someday." I had listened. The trust account's assets were now view only for everyone but me. I opened a new legal account and began transferring funds, starting with the rental deposits from the few weekends my cousins had sublet the place to their friends. They thought I never found out about that, but I did. Then I contacted a realtor, not one from the local area. Too risky. I went with someone from a neighboring county under a confidentiality agreement. I told him the listing couldn't go live yet, but we needed the property prep and pricing evaluations done immediately. He didn't ask questions. Money helps with that. All this while smiling at my parents' texts asking if they could bring friends up for Labor Day weekend. I told them, sure. I even helped my mom reserve the dates on the shared calendar. Let them enjoy it one last time. A week later, I revoked the cabin's insurance policy under the trust's name and switched it under my personal coverage. That raised some eyebrows. My aunt called and asked if something was wrong. She said she'd received a notification in her inbox. I told her it was just a paperwork issue. She sounded confused but didn't press. I didn't reply to her follow-up email. Then came the Wi-Fi. I had it shut off without notice and waited. 3 days later, I got a text from my cousin Jake asking if I knew the router was down because his girlfriend was trying to upload something from the cabin. I said I'd look into it. I didn't. They could enjoy nature for once. The hot tub still worked, but the most satisfying part was canceling all the duplicate key cards. I had no idea how many copies existed. My dad had made one for every sibling, every grandchild, even a neighbor. So I reprogrammed the smart lock and reset the system with only my credentials. The best part was that I didn't tell anyone. That Sunday, they drove up for a family weekend without telling me, like they always did. I waited. About 2 hours later, my phone rang. It was my mom. She didn't say hello. Why won't the door open? I said I didn't know. Probably a technical glitch. We've tried every card. It's not working. You didn't bring the spare. There was a pause. She said something muffled to my dad, then came back on the line. Can you fix this? I told her I was out of town and couldn't do anything until next week. They drove back that night, 3 hours after unpacking coolers, beach bags, and lawn chairs. That's when I knew this was going to work. It wouldn't be loud or dramatic. It would be quiet, cold, and unstoppable. They wouldn't see the worst of it coming until it was too late. They didn't panic right away. That was the strangest part. For the first couple of weeks after the locks were changed, the Wi-Fi cut, and the utilities removed from their names, they assumed it was all just a glitch. My mom left voicemails like she was calling customer service. Calm, clipped, entitled, saying things like, just checking again, let me know when it's fixed. My dad texted me a screenshot of an error message when he tried to access the trust dashboard. They still didn't realize they were being locked out of something they never actually owned. I ignored them completely. When that didn't work, I started getting copied on passive-aggressive emails to the whole family. My aunt forwarded one that said, not sure if the cabin system is down or if Barbara changed something without telling us. I read that line twice. Changed something without telling us. That almost made me laugh. They had changed everything over the years. The locks, the furniture, the paint, how it was used, and never once ran anything by me. My mom even turned the downstairs coat closet into a pantry because she said my system was inefficient. Now they were scrambling, clueless, their assumptions unraveling. The IT got worse when the water was shut off. They'd gone up again on a Friday night without asking, this time with friends. They didn't know I'd scheduled a plumbing inspection and had the lines shut while the realtor's crew did a buyer's survey. They called me 6 times in 1 hour. Then my dad sent a single text. What the hell are you doing? I didn't reply. That was the weekend everything blew open. Monday morning, my phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Calls, texts, emails. First my mom, then my cousin Ashley, then my aunt, then all 3 at once. By then, the listing had gone public. The realtor posted it without the address, just the description, updated lakefront property with private dock, sauna, hot tub, and 2 fireplaces. Serious inquiries only. They found it immediately. Instead of calling calmly, they did what my family always does when they don't get their way. They ganged up. Emails poured in from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. Some played nice, saying they were confused and concerned. Others went straight to rage. My cousin Eric said I was mentally unstable and needed help. My mom accused me of acting out because I was jealous of everyone else's closeness. That one hit a nerve. She truly believed I was bitter about being on the outside, as if I'd put myself there. As if I hadn't tried for years to belong, to contribute, to be part of something. And the moment I claimed back what was mine, I became the villain. That night, they tried one last move. They attempted to access the trust account again, not just to view it, but to withdraw funds. My dad must have thought he still had hidden permissions. I got a fraud alert immediately. Multiple failed logins and a flagged transaction tied to a card in his name that I called the bank and froze everything except my access point. 5 hours later, my mom called again. I let it ring. She called back. This time, I answered. She didn't say hello. What did you do? Her voice wasn't cold or angry. It was panicked that I told her the trust had been closed. The account dissolved. The property listed for sale, fully within my legal rights and fully documented. There was nothing left for them to use. The funds were protected. And yes, only my name was on the account now. There was silence. Then she said something I'll never forget. You've ruined us. I wanted to ask if she had ever thought about what they'd done to me. If she ever considered how it felt to buy something so personal and watch it treated like a free hotel. If it ever crossed her mind that I was simply tired of being used. But I didn't say any of that. I just hung up. By morning, my cousins were flooding the group chat like someone had died, comforting my parents, calling me cruel. No one asked for my side. They didn't care why I did it. They just wanted the cabin back, and they weren't getting IT'd by the end of the week. They turned everyone against me. What I didn't expect was how fast their lives unraveled. My dad's pension deposit bounced because he'd been routing it through the trust. My mom's trust credit card stopped working, groceries, Amazon, even a salon visit she couldn't pay for. Meanwhile, the cabin received 3 strong offers, 1 all cash. I accepted quietly, without telling anyone. Then my cousin's ex-husband reached out. He warned me my parents had tried years ago to restructure the trust behind my back and take ownership. That's when I realized this wasn't entitlement. It was a long plan, and I wasn't supposed to keep what was mine. After I accepted the offer, my uncle was hospitalized with a minor heart issue. My mom blamed me. I stayed silent. Then came my daughter's 8th birthday. I invited everyone like always. No one showed up. No calls. Just a message from my mom saying, "You made your choice." I made the day special for my kids, but that night I realized I'd won and still lost. When the money hit my account, it didn't feel like victory. The cabin was gone, sold to strangers who didn't care about family history. I didn't tell anyone. A week later, my uncle showed up at the cabin anyway and had the sheriff called on him by the new owners. After that, the gossip spread. Relatives posted cryptic messages online. Old photos resurfaced with pointed captions. The people who mattered stayed silent. No calls. No messages. Even thank you drawings from my kids were ignored. And beneath all of it, something deeper was still falling apart. The trust wasn't just for the cabin. It had been used carelessly for years. While closing everything, I found my dad's medical premiums, my mom's credit cards, and dozens of subscriptions running through it. When I shut it down, all of it collapsed. I didn't mean to dismantle their lives, but it happened anyway. Not long after, they quietly put their house up for sale. I only found out through a Zillow link sent by a neighbor. The listing was vague and desperate, and within days it disappeared. My guess is the bank intervened. Then my cousin Jake emailed me one line. "You're going to regret this when they're gone." And the truth was, I already did. Not the sale or the lockout, but believing justice would bring closure. I thought someone might finally admit they were wrong. Instead, they rewrote the story and made me the villain. A letter arrived with no return address. Inside, a plain card read, "You forgot who you were raised by." I knew exactly who it was from. They weren't broken, just waiting to rebuild the narrative where they were the victims. 3 months after the sale, everything was gone. The cabin, the trust, the family I thought I still had. Some mornings I forgot, then remembered. No one was coming. No one had a key anymore. I kept most of the money untouched, but I used some to buy a small, quiet condo just outside the city. 2 bedrooms, a balcony, heated floors the girls love. We read together every night now. They don't ask about the cabin anymore. They just needed to know I was still there. I see family photos online sometimes. New traditions, new lake days. I'm not in any of them. I wasn't invited to my cousin Rachel's wedding. There's still a part of me that wants to explain, but I know how that ends. It was never about the house. It was about being erased. I don't regret it. I lost a family, but I got myself back. A year has passed. No calls. No cards. The silence stayed. The girls are okay. I started college funds for them, paid off my car, and booked a trip for just the 3 of us. Somewhere far, with no ghosts. What surprised me wasn't how quiet life became. It was how peaceful that quiet felt. In it, I started writing again. Maybe someday I'll share it with my girls. Not so they take sides, but so they understand. You can walk away from people you love, especially when love comes with conditions.